Hello everyone, my name is Evan and I like to make stop-motion dinosaurs and monsters. And in this video today, I'm happy to say we are finishing our Jurassic Park Rexy today, I do say. Now, there's a lot of plasticine sculpting to do today, along with some painting, I say, and as I finish this Tyrannosaur a day, or cloning Rexy, you could say, we'll be discussing some more scientifically accurate T-Rexes today, I do say. Undoubtedly, the most iconic dinosaur of all time, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Also known as the Tyrant Lizard King, or in this case, the Tyrant Lizard Queen. Long live Queen Roberta! Or, Rexy, sorry, my bad. Either way, this dinosaur is probably known across the planet as the most terrifying animal that ever walked on planet Earth, with the strongest bite of any terrestrial organism, with a force of 35,000 newtons, which is more than enough to easily crush a car. With 60 sharp conical teeth that can grow up to 12 inches, it's no surprise that this creature has left a lasting impersonation on the imagination of those who lay their eyes on it. As one of the most earlier dinosaurs ever discovered, it's been tantalizing audiences ever since its first film appearance, with the first film appearance being a stop-motion film called The Ghost of Slumber Mountain, which is a short film directed by special effects pioneer Willis O'Brien. And whilst this film may look crude to most people these days, just imagine what audiences would have thought over 100 years ago in 1918. This film would have been nothing like they've ever seen before. Then the T-Rex made another appearance in Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World in 1925, and then the big one, pun intended, in 1933 with King Kong, where a T-Rex battled with the big ape. Or for modern day terms, I think that would be considered the V-Rex. I think it's pretty easy to see why people fell in love with this gigantic beast. It reached new heights of popularity in 1993. Where it was much bigger and more realistic than ever before seen. This showed the Tyrant Lizard Queen at her very best. Jurassic Park revolutionized how we should look at Tyrannosaurus Rex and many other dinosaurs. Not only to do with the appearance, but mainly stance. Because basically up until this point, Tyrannosaurus Rex was always standing upright like a kangaroo. But that was changed to leaning forward like a bird. Outside the exaggerated size, this was the most realistic depiction of the Rex to this date. But since then, things have obviously changed. For example, we do have research that says that Tyrannosaurus Rex was actually a scavenger, which is still up for debate. But given the fact that there is fossil evidence, with hadrosaurs in particular having Tyrannosaurus rex teeth lodged inside their tails. And these wounds did heal over time, which tells a bit of a story if you think about it. More than likely this hadrosaurus was running away from a Tyrannosaurus rex when it got bit, meaning that it was alive while being chased, so therefore kind of debunks that theory, at least in my honest opinion. I would say Tyrannosaurus rex is more likely an opportunistic hunter. But not only that, to defend the argument for it being a scavenger, there's a debate out there saying that it was incredibly slow, reaching a maximum speed of only 16 kilometers an hour. Far less impressive than what you see in the movies. However, the opposing side of the argument basically for that is that most of the other dinosaurs that were around at the time weren't exactly fast either. And there's also a theory out there that it would actually die if it fell over, essentially being crushed by its own weight. Basically putting into question as to whether or not the Tyrannosaurus rex actually deserved the title of the Tyrant Lizard King. But some newer research has come out that not only reminds us why this thing was so loved and feared, but how it might actually be more terrifying than we initially thought. A study conducted by Dr. Mallon and Dr. David Hone of Queen Mary University in London used some computer modeling software to assess the population for T-Rex based on living alligators, chosen for their large size and close relation to dinosaurs. Take into consideration factors such as population size, growth rates, lifespan, and incompletion of fossil records. Researchers said that their findings suggest that there may have been larger dinosaurs out there that have yet to be discovered. A study published in the Journal of Science estimated that each generation of Tyrannosaur consisted of 20,000 individuals. And out there were 125,000 generations in the 2.5 million years that they existed, which means between the years of 68 to 65.5 million years ago, an estimated 1.7 to 2.5 billion T-Rexes roamed the planet Earth. So that leaves us the question, how many individuals thus far have been found fossilized? And the number is a whopping 42. That's right, only 42 out of 2.5 billion. That's the equivalent of taking a quarter of the Earth's population of humans and taking 42 of them. That's the largest of that group. And that's how big they could all get. It's said that the largest T-Rex fossils probably fall into the 99th percentile, representing the top 1% of body size, and that bigger could still be found. Dr. Hone stated, some isolated bones and pieces certainly hint at there being larger individuals than for which we currently have skeletons for. So maybe the T-Rex in Jurassic World isn't as far-fetched as we originally thought. But just how big could this thing get? Currently, the world's largest Tyrannosaurus rex is Scotty from Saskatchewan, who is estimated to weigh about 8.8 tons, with a length of 13.11 meters, or 43 feet, which is already above the current average of 12 meters, or 40 feet. However, the research suggests that the Tyrannosaurus rex was a whopping 70% heavier, weighing roughly 15 tons compared to the 8.8 that it currently is. And not only this, it's estimated to be about 25% longer at 15 meters instead of the current 12, and standing in at almost 5 meters tall. That is nearly as tall as a giraffe. So to put that into perspective, that's even larger than the 13.5 meter Rexy that we saw in the Jurassic movies. This puts into question everything that we have learned about this creature up to this date, begging us the question, how did this thing move? How did this thing hunt? How did it even support its own weight? 15 tons on only 2 legs is no small feat, pun intended. With the increase in mass and muscle size, it can be also correlated to an increase in bite force, meaning this bone crusher, feared across the world, could have had an even stronger bite than previously thought. Dr. Mallon says it's fun to think about a 15-ton T-Rex, but the implications are also interesting from a biomechanical and ecological standpoint. With this research, what we are presented with is a tank of a species that had the potential to grow even larger and even more terrifying than what we even saw in the Jurassic Park films. But it's worth remembering that this study speculates the anomalies, the ones that really stand out from the average, like the random lions that are discovered every now and then that are like 150 pounds heavier than the rest. But that's not the only revelation, for the Rex isn't the only dinosaur in which this science is applied. This study applies to literally every species of dinosaur. For example, think about how large the Patagotitan is, the biggest dinosaur that scientists have literally ever discovered, weighing 57 tons with an insane length of 37.5 meters. So could this thing get even bigger? The possibilities are endless and unfathomably terrifying. We may never really know the extent of the truth. We may never really know how big these animals could really get. We would have to excavate fossils at the current rate for another 1,000 years to ever find an animal that is in the top 99.9% of body size. But for now, this research gives us a glimpse into how opposing the prehistoric era really was. So I just want to thank you all quickly for joining me once again on this scientific adventure. This type of stuff has personally always fascinated me, and I've always been a huge enthusiast of dinosaurs ever since I can personally remember. To the point where one of my first dream jobs was a paleontologist, and I believe I was saying that at probably 6 to 5 years old, so yes, I was commonly referred to as the dinosaur kid at school. And it means a lot to me that every single one of you who support me and this dream by perhaps becoming a full-time YouTuber someday where I can basically just discuss and talk about and make dinosaurs and monsters all the time. That would be really cool, but we're slowly chipping away at that, I do say. If you want more dino science videos, such as this one, be sure to smash that like button as hard as a dinosaur today. And make sure Rexy is done proud, I do say. Because I'll admit, this project did take a little bit longer than expected because, well, I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist and I wanted to make sure that I did the best representation of Rexy possible in a 3-week time span. So be sure to share this video around with your dinosaur-loving friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new today, because there will soon be a dinosaur battle heading your way. So stay tuned for the photo count that will soon be heading your way, where one might say a certain T-Rex will be facing off a mutant, I say. But I'm not going to spoil, well, anything just yet. But don't you fret, because there will be more clues, I say, in today's Glamour shots, I do say. And also, if you enjoyed this content today, be sure to comment below what you think of Project Rexy. And for me personally, I think this is probably one of my favorite dinosaurs that I've made thus far. So let me know what you think in the comments below. And I know as of recently, we've had a lot of requests for the Spinosaurus. So for all of you Spino fans out there, I'm happy to say that we definitely will be making a Spinosaurus next. Now, my only question at this point is, do we make the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus, or do we make the modern day Jurassic World Rebirth Spinosaurus? Now, personally, I think I'm kind of leaning towards maybe the newer one, because that is a little bit more scientifically accurate. However, the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus is kind of the reason why I love Spinosaurus so much. So we'll do a little bit of a casting in the comment section. And one thing I should probably mention before people start going off in the comments, what I mean by next is that Spinosaurus will be coming after the next animation. But now that that's all said and done, making this T-Rex was definitely a lot of fun. And I really hope you enjoyed this video today, because there is more dinosaur content to soon be heading your way. So enjoy the glamour shots of Rexy today, I do say. thanks for sticking around to the very end of the video. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if anything. Anyway, that's enough from me. Till next time, take it easy.